Hey guys, welcome to my fiction TBR for 2025. Now, this is the first of a few different videos that I'm going to be sharing where I am picking 12 different books in a particular area. This is my fiction TBR. I'm going to have my classics TBR. These are books that I want to read on top of my Read Your Bookshelf Challenge books, or maybe some of these will become Read Your Bookshelf Challenge books, but on top of my A Year of Maud. And I don't think any of these are in my 40 before 40, but in my classics list I might have some overlap there. At the end of each year I just get really excited for next year's reading, and I like to make a bunch of lists for myself. I print it out and I try to read all the books on my list each year. I don't always get to all of them, but I really enjoy making these lists. This year, I've kind of gone about it a different way. Usually, a good portion of the books on these lists are books I've been avoiding, and there are a few of those on here that I just need motivation to get through, but some of these are anticipated releases, books that won't be coming out for a few months. I don't think I've ever added those onto my fiction TBR before, and there's just a lot of variety. I'm very excited to share my classics TBR because when I was making this list, all I wanted to do was add classics to it, but I was like, no, that's its own list. So let's dive in. These are in no particular order. The first one is a book that just came out, and that is Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 5th book in his Stormlight archive. These books are all between like 1,000 and 1,400 pages long. Like, they are beastly. Wind and Truth is 1,300 pages. I have given all his books, all those in that series, 4 or 5 stars. I really enjoy them, but I am intimidated by them because of the size. I've talked about this over on Patreon before, that I would rather read 4 250-page books than a 1,000-page book. As soon as a book is really big, I feel intimidated. And so Wind and Truth, it's out in December, but I don't plan on reading it until at least January because I just know it's going to be a big commitment. So what is this one about? It is a high fantasy series. I don't even know what to say at this point because I've read 4 books. Like, I've spent more than 4,000 pages reading this series. I told Jared, because he just did a re-listen to that entire series, I said I need a recap of what happens in book 4 because I'm not rereading them. So before he starts book 5, I need to remember what was happening. Then I've got Dance of Thieves. So I've only read one Mary E. Pearson book so far. I do want to finish the Remnant Chronicles, but I'm very intrigued by the Dance of Thieves duology, even though I don't really know anything about it. I did get up a summary so I can read it. When the patriarch of the Ballinger Empire dies, his son, Jace, becomes its new leader. Even nearby kingdoms bow to the strength of this outlaw family, who have always governed by their own rules. But a new era looms on the horizon, set in motion by a young queen, which makes her the target of the dynasty's resentment and anger. I don't know. I actually, I've heard people like it, but I don't really know anything, so I'm intrigued. The next one is Daughter of the Sun. One of my patrons read this a while ago, and I've wanted to read it ever since, and I've been putting it off. So this one is Born Without a Gift, Soliana? I don't know how to pronounce that. Must accept being ordinary amidst the extraordinary. But when blizzards devastate her valley and endanger village life, a prophetic sign emerges, proclaiming her as the savior. Fulfilling the prophecy means leaving the valley and journeying into Greater Mothmar, where every previous expedition has led to death. I think the book 2 just came out, and it might be a trilogy. I'm not really sure. So I'm excited that I'm going to get into a series when it's not just the first book out. Okay, going into some favorite authors here. We have The Curious Inheritance of Blakely House by Joanna Davidson Politano. This one I think is coming out in the spring, and this book feels like it's going to have the vibes of The Lost Melody that I liked so much, a little bit of a gothic, atmospheric read. I have enjoyed her books. They're usually set in the Edwardian period and have really deep faith elements. And so this one says, it's 1901 when clockmaker and brilliant tinker Sidney Forrester inherits Blakely House, the eclectic estate of an estranged uncle she's never met. The well-known but mysterious industrialist has left behind a stunning array of peculiar inventions and a couple of nephews intent on removing this interloper from the estate. Convinced that Sidney has something to do with their uncle's death, the late master's nephews contest the will and work against their cousin at every turn. Okay, that kind of gives me the Inheritance Games vibes, but Edwardian period, so yeah, looking forward to that. As a Jamie Jo Wright lover, I need to include her spring release, which is called Tempest at Annabelle's Lighthouse. And so we've got dual timeline like she likes to do. We've got 1874, a battered woman awakens atop a forgotten gravesite by Lake Superior. Identified only by the locket around her neck, inscribed with the name Rebecca, she seeks refuge with an elderly lighthouse keeper named Edgar. Okay, I'm not going to read the rest of that. We're going to go to present day. Author and researcher Shay Radcliffe escapes to the lighthouse outside a historic mining town in Michigan, seeking clarity about her failing marriage. Instantly drawn to the lighthouse's landlord, Shay contends with the vengeful legend of Annabelle's ghost and a superstitious community that has buried the secrets surrounding a decade-old murder. Always up for some Jamie Jo Wright. Then I want to call this author a favorite author, but I've only read one book by her. So coming out, I think also in the spring, is The Other Sister by Jessica R. Patch. If one can declare an author a favorite author after one book, I'm declaring her a favorite author. This one sounds interesting. It says she thought she was the only one lying about her identity until she stepped into her sister's life. Charlotte Kane has always dreamed of a different life, one where she isn't living paycheck to paycheck, an existence worlds away from the chaos of her own. Then her estranged mother dies, and Charlotte makes a stunning discovery. She has an identical twin who was given up for adoption. That premise, the whole like unknown twin thing, I can't actually think of a time when I've read a book like that, but like I love that. Like the whole Parent Trap vibes. Yes, totally. I'm there. So looking forward to that. Also in the spring is a study of shattered spells by Josiah Graff. This is the book that multiple people told me a while ago in my Substack newsletter. I said I was looking for Harry Potter, but like for adults, maybe like where the teachers are like the main characters. And this guy is writing that book. And he has been for a while. He's not just writing it because I asked for it. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And he is a Christian author, so I think, you know, I'm going to appreciate some of the themes that come through. So he said it's, I think, Dead Poet Society meets a deadly education. Yeah, it says this novel features a magic school teacher who can't do magic by herself, or can't do magic herself. Behind the scenes schemes amongst the teachers, a music-based magic system, and dark academia vibes without the R-rated content, which is totally what I'm there for. So very excited about that one. And then the rest of these books, yes, the last 5 are ones that are on my physical TBR. I feel really bad putting this next one on because it's you know, it's a book that I say I want to read and I just can't finish it. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. This is the book that I was saying, like I would rather have 4 250-page books than one 1,000-page book. So this is set during the Napoleonic Wars, and there is magic. I think most magicians have died out or can't really do magic, except there's one that can. Need to read it. Then we've got Winter, White and Wicked. This is on my winter TBR as well, and it's just one that I've already started, couldn't get into, but want to give a second chance. So definitely need to do that this year or in 2025. Then we have The Lines Between Us by Amy Lynn Green. I have been avoiding this book because I loved my first Amy Lynn Green, and then I didn't like the second one that I read, and now I'm just scared to know where this is gonna land, because after you love a book, you feel like you're gonna love everything the author writes, and I've been let down. So this one is a World War II novel of courage and conviction, based on the true experience of the men who fought fires as conscientious, oh, that one's a hard word for me, objectors, and the women who fought prejudice to serve in the Women's Army Corps. It sounds like an interesting setting. So hopefully I like it. This is such an ugly cover. I shared a video over on Patreon a week or two ago. It was the reluctant TBR tag. And this is one I'm avoiding because the cover is so ugly. And it's Out of the Easy by Ruta Sepetys, who, let's see if I can focus here. There you go. It's not like, it's not a bad cover. It's just, there's nothing that's gripping me. The problem is I've loved all of Ruta Sepetys' other books. So I'm annoyed at myself that I've been dragging my feet with this book because it's probably going to be great. This one is set during Prohibition, I think. Maybe? Known amongst the locals as the daughter of a brothel prostitute, Josie wants more out of life than the Big Easy has to offer. She devises a plan to get out, but a mysterious death in the quarter leaves Josie tangled in an investigation that will challenge her conscience, her loyalties, and her darkest fears. Interesting. Yeah, like Ruta Sepetys, she has such a great way of writing. I should love it. Another author that I feel like I've loved some or one and then not others or another one is Frederick Bachman. So I've had My Grandmother Sends Her Regards and Apologizes on my shelf for a very long time. I loved A Man Called Uva. Oh, I listened to that on audio and like the last 15-20 minutes of the book, I just had tears streaming down my face. Oh, and then And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. It's a 70 to 90 page book. Tears just streaming down my face. I've DNF'd Beartown. I've DNF'd Anxious People. I can't remember if there was any others. So I'm just hesitant because they're either 5-star reads or they're DNFs. That's very strange. So I know what this one's about. To most people, 7-year-old Elsa's granny is eccentric, if not crazy. To Elsa, she's a superhero with a superpower like no other: storytelling. When Granny leaves Elsa a mysterious series of letters apologizing to those she has wronged, her stories come to life in ways Elsa never could have imagined, sending her on a breathtaking adventure of her own. I honestly don't think I've ever read the back of this book, and I've had it probably for at least 2 years. So are these set up as letters then? Or it doesn't look like there's any letters in here that I can see based on formatting. Huh, strange. Okay, still don't really know, but I'm curious. And if it turns out that it's not a 5-star and it's more in the DNF route, I am totally free to DNF any of the books off of any of my TBRs, because if I find a book is not for me, I don't want to waste my time reading a book I'm not enjoying. So these are the 12 books, fiction books that are not classics and are not rereads, that I want to try to prioritize in 2025. At this point, I haven't even finished my 2024 fiction TBR, but there's a possibility that I will. I'm pretty close, so hopefully a year from now I can say the same about this list. If you guys make a yearly fiction TBR or certain kind of TBR, I would love to hear like what books are getting put on your list this year. What kind of books? Are you doing like anticipated releases, books that you've been avoiding? Is there a bit of a theme? I would love to hear it. Thanks for hanging out with me again.